Millions have been impressed by Bruce Lee's legendary feats. The 1-inch punch which launched a man into space. The lightning-fast kicks too quick to be recorded properly by the cameras of that time. Let's not forget Lee's iconic lat spread. That was impressive. The source of Lee's legendary accomplishments was his mind, which is rooted in spiritual contemplation. In this video, you will learn the esoteric secrets of Bruce Lee. Copy these and you will direct the trajectory of your life. There is a lesser-known book called Letters of the Dragon. This treasure trove is a compilation of letters which Bruce Lee wrote to his friends, family, and fans during the most important moments of his life. Lee writes about buying fur coats for his wife Linda whilst in Hong Kong and tried to finesse customs officers so he didn't have to pay tax. He shares the wonders of first arriving in America and also interesting, exciting stories about his movie career. What becomes glaringly obvious as you read through the pages of Lee's letters was his dedication to spiritual matters. In 1962, he wrote a letter to his friend Pearl Sue, which shared some prophetic words.
When you drop a pebble into a pool of water, the pebble starts a series of ripples that expand until they encompass the whole pool. This is exactly what will happen when I give my ideas a definite plan of action. Right now I can project my thoughts into the future. I can see ahead of me. I remember that practical dreamers never quit. I may now own nothing but a little place down in a basement, but once my imagination has got up a full head of steam, I can see painted on a canvas of my mind a picture of a fine big 5 or 6 story Kung Fu institute with branches all over the states. I am not easily discouraged, readily visualize myself as overcoming obstacles, winning out over setbacks, achieving impossible objectives.
Before Lee had any evidence of his success, he had already claimed the ideal as being realized. His thought force, like a wave, created a series of events which would ultimately blossom into a physical fact. Simply visualizing was not enough. Lee explained the importance of faith and surrender to a higher force. These mental exercises were popularized by books such as Think and Grow Rich and The Power of the Subconscious Mind. These are new thought concepts which were popular during the period that Lee wrote these letters. Lee undoubtedly was influenced by this movement. His phrasing in the words definite plan of attack are eerily similar to Napoleon Hill's definite chief aim. Lee also mentioned how he set a time frame for his goal, giving himself 10 to 15 years, which was also advised by Hill. Lee was an avid reader, and he had an extensive library containing over 2,500 books. He was a student of knowledge.
My father read books on all different subjects. So these are categorized by exercise, training and fighting methods books, all in these 2 cabinets. And if you might notice that the books are all double deep on these shelves. So there are 2 layers of books, one stacked behind the other on all of the shelves in here. There's literally thousands and thousands of books. This is a book from the religion and philosophy section called Crisis in Consciousness, The Battle Within the Mind by Robert Powell. In this book, you can see he signed it. Here he's written some notes, the beginning. Number 1, do not cling to partiality, however fantastic. See things from totality. Number 2, die continually to every newly gained experience. Be in a state of choiceless awareness to what is.
In his letter, he mentions how he was impressed by an interview with the electrical genius Charles Steinmetz. In the interview, Charles was asked which branch of science would most advance humanity in the next 20 years. After a few minutes of pondering, the genius answered, spiritual realization. This interview inspired Lee because he too understood the importance of mastering the spiritual strengths of mankind. act of repeating an action creates subconscious mastery of that action. We first must learn to do something consciously with our slow, deliberating minds before it can be automated by the subconscious. Repetition is the most surefire way to create a subconscious program. Lee was known to have an extensive training regimen, which emphasized hours of practice. One of Lee's most trusted tools was his Wing Chun dummy. The dummy was first introduced to him at the age of 16, whilst learning Wing Chun from the legendary Ip Man. It was love at first sight. The dummy emulates the movements of a human body, which allowed Lee to practice his reflexes in a dynamic way. Lee practiced over 100 different traditional movements in Wing Chun until they became automatic. Later, during the development of his own martial arts philosophy, Jeet Kune Do, Lee finally understood that the biggest barrier to martial arts success was his own ego. If one could learn to step aside and allow the universe to flow through him, he would easily attain mastery.
Turn into a doll made of wood. It has no ego, it thinks nothing, it is not grasping or sticky. Let the body and limbs work themselves out in accordance with the discipline they have undergone.
The same principle which is true on the physical plane also operates on the mental plane. Remember the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. Repeating thought patterns entrenches them in the mind until they become subconscious. This is why the destinies of many people are set in stone before the age of 7. If you don't consciously create new beliefs to replace the disempowering ones which were haphazardly installed into your subconscious through your upbringing and society, your future will be left to chance and not conscious intent. Countering negative thought patterns requires patience and consistency. New mental habits can only be created by dedicating yourself to ongoing repetition. It's boring, but it works. One of the methods that Lee advises for creating these new mental patterns is through affirmations.
Faith can be induced or created by affirmation or repeated instructions to the subconscious mind through the principle of autosuggestion. This is the only known method of voluntary development of the emotion of faith.
The secret to Bruce Lee's power came in his complete surrender to it. It comes in many names. Some call it God, Universal Force, Allah, the field or the Tao. Lee understood that when he emptied his mind from egoic preferences, he became a channel for the divine to express itself through him. Jeet Kune Do, Lee's birth child, is translated as being the way of the intercepting fist. Interception is based on reaction, and Lee trained his reaction to be in tune with the infinite. This egoless state in which effortless action becomes the norm is called Wooi by Taoist philosophy. Lee loved using the metaphor of water to explain this formless state, which chooses the most direct path to accomplish its intent. Just like water, it has no preference. It simply does what needs to be done.
I'm moving and not moving at all. I'm like the moon underneath the waves that ever go on rolling and rocking. It is not I'm doing this, but rather an inner realization that this is happening through me.
Lee's metaphor is similar to that shared in the Kabbalion when explaining the law of neutralization. The Hermetists rise to the higher plane and thus escape the swing of the rhythmic pendulum which manifests on the lower plane. At this higher state of consciousness, you're not fazed by the ebbs and flows of life, but rest completely satisfied in the stillness of the infinite. You accept whatever is going on. Paradoxically, this is exactly the state needed to accomplish the impossible. This was Bruce Lee's philosophy. Do this and you'll be one step closer to living and dying well. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell notifications so we can see more of each other. Until next time.